Hey there, everyone. Thank you so much for the introduction. It's so great to be here at Pierce College. It really is. I definitely enjoy being in different places, especially different colleges. Because when I was very little, there's only one place I'm more interested in: my room. And the reason why is because having autism, you're mostly into certain areas. You're not really into the most different, the most challenging parts. So when I was very little, that's what it was. That was my whole life, was just to be in that one same little room, and I would never ever go out. So how did I become a keynote speaker afterwards? Well, there's one thing: my parents and family members, and of course the teachers. One thing that they all have in common: they never gave up on me. What they want to do is that they want to push me forward, to push me and to challenge me on certain areas. And once I understand said challenges, it becomes ultimate routine. That's why every time I come to different places, such as Pierce College, I'm always so impressed. I just want to, look around and see, experience different stuff. Even the sign, as a matter of fact, too, with the globe. The one thing I've actually noticed about that globe, which I found very fascinating, is that it's actually focusing on the country of Sweden. And the reason why I'm going to point that out is because, most of my family is from Sweden. And, I was kind of just paying more attention to that. So that's one thing that autism, especially with my experiences, is that I'm more focused on just, those small, tiny details. That's been going on for a long time. And whenever I say, the cartoon shows and other TV shows, I would have this interesting way of playing backwards and play the exact same scene over and over and over again and again. 2 hours for 5 second scene. Why do I do this? The reason why is because I wanted to, well, actually, for one reason, is because I want to know how to form speech, how to form the mouth movements on certain areas, even when it's something simple as saying hello or goodbye. Play that same scene over and over again to see if I could try to project it from my own mouth. Because I never really spoke for a long time until I was 5 years old. I may have developed speech at 5 years old, but I didn't really quite know how to develop communication, such as "Hello, how are you today?" So that was that was very tough. That was just a very tough time, even on certain social situations at school. Man, I tell you, school, especially like in high school, it's not more of trying to find yourself and try to find your own journey. To me, it's more just summed up in one word: survival. The reason why? Because even when I was in high school, that was just one of my toughest things, was just communication. Even when it comes down to saying hi to me, or saying hello. I want to tell this story because I feel like this is very indeed important for someone that says hi, Tyler, or hello. What happens was I slowly developed my own superpower that I didn't even know I had. That superpower was the ability to slow down time. Time slows down every time people say hello. So what goes on when time slows down? Everyone's going slow, but instead, in the mind, having autism, it begins to have multiple paragraphs all at once. Every time someone said hi, I immediately started panicking. I was like, "Oh my goodness, why is this person saying hi to me? What do I say back? What do I do? Do I shake their hand? Do I make eye contact? Or I'm sure this person, this girl, I think she's kind of cute, but what do I do? What do I say? Um, and then all of a sudden, everything starts to freeze. To me, I didn't know what to do. So much so that I immediately packed, and I felt like I just want to run away. Super fast speed. That's another superpower discovered. Super speed. I just wanted to leave ever since then, just all because of someone said hi to me. Why did I do that? It wasn't because I was trying to be rude or anything. I just didn't know what to say or what to do. In my mind, I just didn't really develop those social skills at all. From elementary to all the way to high school. Sure, I was able to talk then, but I didn't really quite understood, what to say or what to say afterwards and such. And to be quite honest, it's much more interesting. It's much more easier to speak up on stage than is for one-on-one social interactions. And that's completely honest. I'm getting a lot better on that, but when it comes to public speaking engagements, it all of a sudden becomes quite easier in that area. So what did I do? What did I do when people say hi to me? Well, I take the decisive action. That decisive action was to start writing down on my notebook, saying what to do afterwards. If someone said hi, you can just reply saying hello back, or no, or hello, how are you today, or something on the lines of anything planned for the weekend. That develops a neat conversation. And I was taught at an early age that hey, people can change what they say. It's more like when you least expect it. You just have to know, quick thinking. When people say this, what do you say back? And that was very hard at first when I was growing up. And becomes a lot easier now that I'm 23 years old and old enough to be a college student. And and that's why I always just say that to people who said hi to me back then was very much important. If I didn't know these skills, I wouldn't be up on the stage today. So that's very important when people say that to me. So could you also keep in mind too that sometimes very simple greetings such as saying hi to someone who has autism can get a person thinking. Don't expect too much on being answered back or replied back or anything like that because in their minds they're just thinking about what to say afterwards and who knows? Maybe they can start developing some answers, and they might be keynote speakers as well. You just never can know. Just those simple words, just those simple greetings. So, speaking of greetings, I would also, in my early life, would like to ask many questions. I'm always a question asker. Every time I come home, from school, I would go up to my mom and say, "What does Felix the cat look like?" Or "What animal is Felix the cat is?" Of course, the answer is pretty obvious, right? Felix says, "Well, he's a cat." But I still felt very comfortable asking those very obvious, easy answered questions to my mother and to my dad. The reason why I do this is because I want to know how to develop communication much more easier. Even if it's simple as what is bark made out of from a tree? Well, it's made of wood, right? But mom didn't. But that's the thing about mom. She didn't really say, come on, you already know the answer. I shouldn't be answering for you. No, she never did that. All she did was she just answered to the question, and I just got really excited. Reason why? Because I was like, oh my goodness, I'm actually talking to someone. I'm actually talking to my mother. And pretty much a lot of times, it's just most of those social situations all start with questions. I ask so many questions that they even today I would even ask, "What do I need to do to prepare for the next big event?" Or what does it mean to do this certain situation? Or what does the logo mean to me? As in, I always ask questions every time I look around. It's always so fascinating, especially when someone with a mind with autism, you just always have fun. You just always feel like be direct to the very tiniest of detail. And every discovery, it becomes a celebration of itself. And I always like to encourage if you discover something that you think is pretty neat, even if it's simple as just communicating with others. I think that is worth celebrating. even if it's simple as going to White Castle for dinner for that kind of celebration. That's what we did one time because of doing a good job. As silly as it may seem most of the time, I feel like those celebrations are worth celebrating when it comes to communication and social interaction. I would ask those questions. Once I get those answers and develop more questions, then those are worth mentioning as well. A common practice I have sure gets me today was just just curious about just a lot of things and just curious on what I can share as well. In leadership, I was one of the students at leadership, and to be honest, I hadn't really quite understood exactly what leadership was. Not because I didn't know, hey, everyone's supposed to have fun and have school spirit and such, but because of the social interaction part of it, that just really boggles. That just really is frustrating to me. The reason why, and because the way I did leadership was I just took a big long sheet of paper, just grabbed and a large orange marker like this, and then I start drawing down 123 ways to make school more fun, whether it be a pretend talk show or a ice cream eating contest or whatever it may be. I just took that marker and just started writing, just started drawing these great ideas, and they were pretty neat ideas. Well, I think they're kind of neat ideas, but the thing about that was no one actually really paid attention. The reason why, I just didn't know how to show it. I just didn't know how to show these great ideas, that I could have to make school, in high school more fun. And that part to me was just very frustrating. I just thinking back, it's like, what am I doing wrong? Yeah, it's probably just the social part of it. I just didn't know what to do. So from that to lesson, I learned that I need to reach out, and even when it comes to teachers or family members, saying, "What am I doing wrong? I've got these ideas, but I feel like no one's really listening." And there are some times that I actually helped, and there are some times, to be honest, that didn't really help so much during high school. Remember when I said about survival? Well, there was a time where I was and a time where I felt like I was failing in the survival mode because I didn't really do a lot of social interaction. I was very not good at that. I feel like I was not listened to as much. I feel like I was losing friends every single day in the school. So what did I do? I just started writing paragraphs. I just started writing paragraphs. And those paragraphs led me to write more paragraphs and more pages, and then eventually it would start becoming a book. Population One. The original title for Population One was at first reason why is because I feel like I was just the only person in the world. So, I felt like in my own reality, in my own area and such. That's one of the main reasons why I did the title for Population One. But there's also another reason why I also did Population One. When I think of it, I love space. Space is one of my favorite things. The cosmos and the stars and the planets. It's just so breathtakingly. I can imagine it's right now in front of me. And when I think of population one, I think of one planet or one galaxy or one universe. One planet full of lots of people, right? So just come together as population of one. One galaxy and entire into one universe. And that's one reason why I did uh, you know write the title for population one. So in this the book, it's mostly about what is like to have autism. To be quite honest with you, when I first discovered it at age 13, I didn't really take the message quite seriously at all, and I didn't really take it quite lightly too. I remember being at Dad's house, feeling I want to take a chainsaw and start cutting down the house. It was really that bad. I just, you know, I just, the feelings just keep coming up on me. It's like, so this is the reason why people start, acting and treating me differently, and this is why people are just, going away and such too. It's like I'm scaring people in such an odd way, and that's why when I was in 13, the teenage years, with those, start things start to build up and becomes a really nasty idea. And it took me years until I learned how to accept autism as a whole. Because let's face it, if you have it, there's no cure for it. There's absolutely no cure for autism. There are studies about that, but instead of studying how to treat autism and how to get rid of it, instead researchers nowadays are learning how to accept autism as a whole, to learn from it, and to learn how to use the abilities for the better, and to use the abilities for the advantage to hopefully shape the world. What is a great example of this, of someone that shaped the world that has autism? I'll tell you. Satoshi Tajiri. You ever heard this? You ever heard that guy's name before? He's also the founder of Pokemon. He's got autism. So when he was little, bullied at school, loved video games, has a brilliant imagination. And then one time he decided to use his little ideas for different monsters, and then that's when he got the ideas into the public, or excuse me, well known. And Nintendo was like, "Hey, why don't you make a game for us on the Game Boy?" And there you have it. Becomes a worldwide phenomenon, millions of copies, and becomes a really popular franchise. Satoshi Tajiri has autism, made Pokemon. That's a great example of shaping the world. What was his secret? Well, he was bullied. There's no doubt about it. I mean, he was made fun because they think that, hey, these monsters are a terrible idea. These are ridiculous. But his secret was that he didn't pay attention to all those negative things. He didn't pay attention to all these things. It's like, all right, I guess that's your idea, but I'm just gonna, this is kind of nice. I'm gonna make this happen, and therefore he did. He took action, decisive action, and there you go. And then you have that video game. So that was his secret. I encourage that others who have autism to have a much similar approach to it. Sure, of course, it is going to be hard. It's always going to be hard to have it because you don't know what's like to not have autism, right? Because it's like a little thing, right? You don't know what's like to have it. You don't know what's like to not have autism. It's like one of those corner opposites and such. So that's why most of the time those social interactions can be a little tricky. But I can tell you right now is that when it comes to autism as a whole, it becomes ultimately one thing: teamwork. Whether you have autism or not, it's always a team effort, especially when it comes to my family members. They never gave up on me, and I never gave up on them. And that's one thing because it's not a one man thing because if someone doesn't have autism that's trying to care for a person that has autism, he or she is not going to do it on his own. It's a team effort, and and that's one thing is that's with my mom. I just always wanted to stay. I wanted to do what's best, and I wanted to try to do different things or try challenging areas. Because when it comes to autism, one thing that's also struck me as fascinating is also the five senses. The five senses, such as touch, sight, hearing, taste, and smell as well. Those five senses, I do believe that they are also that they can be superpowered, as in the senses, the five senses has is more like tripled or doubled or even quadrupled, quintupled with the senses too. Whenever you hear loud noises, it becomes really, really loud, louder than expected. So when it comes to autism, it's like no matter what kind of noise it is, whether it be like a plane, very very far away, and I remember going crazy over that too. It's like, shoot, I don't want this noise, man. I just want to be in my room. And that's one of the things about autism is that those five senses are more sensitive than the other stuff. It's almost like a superpower, as if you can think about it. Now, growing up, now I can handle all kind of noises, all kinds of touch and smell and all these kind of things, or even sight. When I say sight, I mean like bright lights and a bunch of colors coming together, all that kind of stuff. That's what I mean by sight. When I grow up, I'm more used to all those senses now. Not because they're all dimmed down to a much medium level or lower level and such too. Because the senses they're all the same, the same level, the same sensitivity. The only thing is I learned how to control it entirely. Don't have to freak out every time there's something busy going on. So how did I do that? Well, I feel like that this next story I would like to tell you can be quite a journey in itself, and you might learn that something. The drag races. You ever been to those places? You ever been to those drag races? It's one of the noisiest places on earth. I can tell you that much. And my dad, he decided, come on, son, let's go to drag races. I didn't really know what drag races are. I was like, "Well, okay, sure," because I was used to going out and trying new things and such. So that's what Dad did. He said, "Come on, let's go to drag races." And I was in there, and it was this is where the five senses become extravagant. In other words, so disturbed by whatever is going on. The five senses in the drag races, the you can also almost taste the dust that's over there. Then probably the food doesn't taste that good, and you can see all these things going on, see all these cars coming over there and over here, and also the noise, dude. It's like one of the loudest things I ever heard. In fact, my dad wanted to wanted to try to prevent that by giving me earplugs and earphones. So I had like layers to cover my ears. I still felt that. I still felt those the rush of the drag races. Just vibrating, and it challenges my five senses. It was so bad I almost fainted and died. It's true, really. I just felt lightheaded. I just want to lie down on the dirty ground and just hopefully I can go back home safely. It was bad. It was very nasty. And and since then, I just went back home and try to gather what was going on. So why did Dad do this? Why did Dad, all of a sudden decide to take me to the drag races? Because take it from me, people, started criticizing my dad, saying, "Why did you do that to your son? You're trying to murder your own kid by taking him to the drag races, because it's so noisy all of a sudden. So why did he do that? Think of it this way. I like to give a little illustration. So work with me here. The drag races can be seen as a mighty dragon. Get it? Dragon, drag race. and and I was a knight. I was a knight with a nothing but a wooden sword. And I tried to take on that dragon with that wooden sword. And turns out I started fleeing from the area. I was not fully ready for that dragon. But on the next few days, on the next few weeks, I was ready. I was ready to sharpen my sword to be more of a steel blade. And the next day, I took on the new challenge, and that was to ride on the jet skis. Now, keep in mind too that when I was doing the jet skis, there's only one way of going from point A to point B. The car was in use. The car was in use, and we have to go to this place. And my dad had the boat with his friends, and they want the jet skis over there. So there's no cars that can be used. So Dad, he said, "All right, son, you can do one or two things. You can take the car, or take the boat, or try yourself on the jet ski. It's your call, man." And I kind of just looked at these areas, and when I heard the jet ski start up, at first plugged my ears, but then I slowly began to unplug my ears and started enjoying the sound of the jet ski. Why is that? Compared to the drag races, the jet ski is much, much more quieter than it is on the drag races. So, so when I did the jet skis, I was like, huh, this is not so bad. And keep in mind too that you can't really quite drive the jet ski with your ears plugged, and there's just no way to steer that thing. So that was pretty much my only option I had was to take that jet ski, go over there, and then just be done away with. And one of the most amazing thing happened when I was in that jet ski. I started to close all my five senses. I didn't care about how cold the water was. I didn't care about the noise. I didn't care about what the jet ski felt like. It just everything was just turned off. And after I went to the destination, which is like around, I don't know, 4 miles long or so. Or was it 4 miles? I think it was 10. Either way, it was a very far trip. And after I got there, my dad, he was first concerned. I was like, "Everything all right, kid?" And that's one thing. I just said that was amazing. That was the most amazing experience I've ever had. And I started celebrating with a little dance. I'm a dancer, by the way. I really like going to dances. And the next thing I did was I just walked up to my bed, actually to my to my bathroom, and then I just got sick, and I just plopped myself on the bed. The reason why I did that, because all the senses come rushing in after they were turned off. And then when I got upstairs, all went out, and I passed out in the bed. See, real party animal. So, so that was one experience. That was the biggest breakthrough in dealing with the noise. And ever since those jet ski moments, I feel like I want to take on that mighty dragon again and go to those drag races once more. So much so that I even want to be an aspiring race car driver nowadays. Last couple of months, I was in Indiana and Indianapolis 500, and over there, I just fell in love with the racetrack, man. It's like just the rush, the thrill of it, and one of the main reasons why I want to become a race car driver is because I want to challenge all my senses entirely. I wanted to challenge to push myself even further. If I didn't know how to do that, I wouldn't be holding this microphone like this today. I would just be in my home playing my video games. And to be honest, after playing so much, it becomes kind of boring. I just want to try something new, something a little different. There from the and I was kind of amazed that I actually started the book and finished it. I never thought I could get that far when it comes to being in high school, and when it comes to being in high school, and that was just one of my major projects. And at first, it was just to get rid of my feelings, and then such, just to release it out. One of the main reasons why I did the book was just to be make some friends. It's like hey, I made a book. Can we be pals? That was my original thinking, because you'd be surprised on what people would do for companionship. You'd be surprised on what people would do for friendship, even if it involves writing a book, or try to be a race car driver, or anything to the extreme. You'd be surprised, and to me, that's worth a story all in itself. Is what you would do for the things you want the most. And when it comes to autism, most people really want that companionship, but they just don't know how. And they would just take the alternatives. whether it be writing or drawing or anything that makes them feel good, even music as well. I've met quite a few kids with autism that are musically talented, and take it from me, I love music. Music is one of my favorite things on earth. And yeah, those are just really talented savants in those areas. So think of it this way: when it comes to having autism, trade those social interactions for something a lot bigger, whether it be math or science, because I know quite a few kids who are genius in math and science, but not really so good on social communications. And I kind of noticed that too when I was at school. It was very fascinating. I took quite a few notes on certain behaviors that go as well. So I don't really quite focus on the negative disability parts, which is why I say transform disability to unique ability. But I always go forward to, yeah, go for the unique. And I always go for the positive. That's just one way I kind of just work in my head. The negatives are there. I mean, people can go on and on about the negative stuff, and to me, it's kind of tiring. I'll be completely honest with you. Not saying that I've done it multiple times, because I have. I mean, a lot of people have, but when you focus on those, positive viewpoints, I think it can be marvelous. You never know when that person could become the next doctor, or the next author, or the next keynote speaker, or anything like that. Just never know. People dream big that way. When it comes to having autism, the spectrum, when it comes to being a savant, there are times where you just want to have fresh new ideas, or goals, or anything like that. And sometimes hard to find those goals. So instead, what we do, just go for the alternative, and go for something that you can do with your hands or your mouth, like a fidget. So a fidget, here's what I could define a fidget. So a fidget is a way to calm all the five senses. Not all of them, but at least one of them as well. For me, my fidget was the yo-yo. I am bringing it along with me. Sorry, but that was one thing I brought along there with me. And what's interesting about that is that when I bring the yo-yo with me, whether it be at a casino or the city of Seattle, I've noticed something really odd and but fascinating at the same time. People started coming up to me when I do the tricks, and they would say, "Hey, that's a yo-yo. Yeah, that's pretty cool," or "Hey, nice trick," or anything like that. My first response was to get out of there as fast as possible, because I didn't know what to say. And people come up to me like that too. But I go back to my notes, try to figure out what to say next, and then gave a little thank you. It's like, "Hey, thank you very much. I'm glad you really like my tricks." Or "Yeah, the yo-yo is still a fun toy. I think it's really fun. Kids can try it." And and in a way, that yo-yo, that little fidget I had, the yo-yo, can be also a way to develop communication as well. You never know, we'll start a conversation. And I always find that very, very, yeah, fascinating. Yeah, very interesting too, especially when it comes to a business. And when it comes to business, communication is the key. And I always say here this every the time out loud, is I'm always so fascinated with people, whether it be what they look like, or what their personality is, all these different kind of things. And to me, I can now give people a space. So when I was in elementary school, I used to literally get up so very close and personal, so I can see their eyes, like so. And that's what I did. I didn't really know what was going on. I just want to see their eyes. What's the big deal? Personal space. That was one thing I learned the hard way. Hard way, as in like going out for a little timeout and say, "Hey, you can't do that." So lots of times, almost every time when I was in high school, or even when I was at school in general, I was just more, disciplined for those certain areas, and they knew that I had to work out on certain parts. So and it can be really hard too. Hard in a way knowing what to do right or what to do wrong, and every time you could get in trouble, every time you get suspended or detention or anything like that, just for unintentional reasons, I slowly become a realization that's I feel like I have to be cautious everything I could do. And even when it means giving flowers to my mom, I still feel very cautious. It's like, am I supposed to do this? It's like almost everything I would do, I felt like I felt guilty of as well. And yeah, that's the thing about autism. It can be such a struggle. Here's one thing I would like to mention too. The word autism as well. What does it really mean? Well, if you combine it, you have aut, which also means the Greek word for auto. Another word for auto means self, and then you got ism. So you got autoism, self-ism, and that's pretty much how you can see it now. What autism is really about is having to deal with things on your own and feeling like you're the only person on Earth. It's a lonely journey. It's a very very lonely journey. Selfism, but in reality, it's not lonely at all. It's a team effort. Like I always say, you're never alone when you have autism. You're never alone when you do stuff, when or even when you're trying to be social or trying to, figure whatever is going on. I'm 23 and I'm still trying to figure out what's going on. I mentioned survival during high school. When you're at this age, this is where you really try to figure out what to do or what's going on too. Sure I can do a keynote speaking and be an aspiring race car driver, but sometimes I just felt like just want to do more on that sort of stuff. I'm really terrified of my own voice. Every time I play through the video that's being played right now. Every time that's being played through, I would literally go and hide underneath a couch or hide underneath a chair. That's how terrified I am with my own voice. And I've always mentioned too, I always want to try new things, challenge myself to push my sensory to the limits. So what do I want to do next at this age? Be an aspiring voice actor. Aspiring voice actor. Wait, I thought you said you're afraid of your own voice. Well, why do you want to be a voiceover dude? This doesn't make any sense. Even people, come to me saying, that doesn't make any sense. Well, here's one reason why I want to do that to be a voiceover is because I want to challenge myself to push my fears into the limit. Every time I hear myself more often, that's when the fear starts to go down. Everyone always has those little fears. It's all about how you're going to do it that matters, whether it be taken to the extreme or to simply just get used to it. And sure, you could say get used to it, but sometimes there's always those times. There's always times where you need to challenge those fears, whether you want to challenge them or not. And today I do get scared oftentimes, especially when I have autism. When you're full of people, social interactions, all that kind of stuff, it can be very scary. But as a keynote speaker, it's much different than being social around with one-on-one conversations. How so? It's because every time I go up on the stage and see lots of people, I feel like I can give everyone a chance to be looked at in the eyes instead of just one-on-one. Because on one, to be honest, even I do this sometimes occasionally, which is to have loss of eye contact as well. Feel like I have to shift away. That's the reason why I felt like it's more respectful that way to, not give people full eye contact. I've done this one time, but I felt like I was staring. It was embarrassing. It was an embarrassing time. I don't want to stare at people. So that's why I had to just, shift away, and it's always that kind of stuff. There's always those reasons why people with autism do these kind of stuff. The only thing that I think is important is understanding why that could be, and at the same time, for those for people who have autism, to also just explain why that is. And and oftentimes, I always make this very clear that when you meet one person with autism, you meet one person with autism. That's all there is to it. Population one person, one person with autism. Everyone's different. That's in that way. So so I say this because not everyone with autism have the ability to speak right away, but instead they can communicate in much different ways, whether it be writing or drawing or even music. Every time they play music, they like to play a certain part of the track, and it feels like the music, whether it be the lyrics or whatever, is trying to speak for them, even the movies as well. I remember reading this book. I think it was called Life Animated. Anyone never heard that? Life Animated. Well, basically, Life Anime is mostly about this kid who actually communicates with his favorite cartoon characters. How so? Well, depending on the situation, whether this kid was sad, he would play a sad scene from a cartoon, or if he's happy, he plays a happy scene from a cartoon, and it becomes a really fascinating tale of communication. So I always find that very interesting. It's like communication doesn't have to be a social, whether it be for words. It can be all sorts of different things. I just find that's so fascinating. People fascinate me when it comes to those communications and how to speak their language as well. Maybe I could share a few cartoon clips in order to communicate with this kid. It's really cool. I find that really really neat. And keep in mind for autism, this is very very important. I feel like it's more noteworthy. The most important part about autism is that all those kids who have it are listeners. They are listeners. They may not show that they are listening or not. Now, they could just look away, no eye contact, not even doing anything, whether just doing the simple, rocking and rolling or anything like that. Wherever they may be, when they are spoken to, they listen. They really, yeah, really do. They may not to show it, but I can tell you they always listen to everything you have to say, and they keep it in their minds and try to process that information either as quickly as they can. But everyone works so differently when it comes to autism. Because when I was low, I processed all the information very slowly. It didn't mean that I was less intelligent or anything like that too. It's saying that people say, "Ah, he doesn't understand," or "He doesn't even know." No, I was just trying to process what's going on, whether it be the mouth movements or the ABCs or anything like that. Especially the mouth movements too, or even manners. As a matter of fact, I would play those videos over and over again, VHS tapes, and yeah, and the thing about these, just over and over again, I just how many times I would do it, I still process that information, even if it's so slow. And when it comes to listening, they are listeners, and they process the information as such differently. And keep in mind that when they are listeners, they also want to be heard. They also want to be listened to when it comes to having autism, whatever it may be, drawing, writing, social communicating. When I was 5 years old, the way I try to communicate was try to just use a bunch of noises. It doesn't make any sense talking all this gibberish nonsense. And I did that, and I was excited, saying, "Oh my goodness, I'm making noises with my mouth," but I didn't really form any words. So I really could try to just be heard. That's one thing I've always wanted to do, and from pretty much my whole life ever since then. Therefore, the book that book was one ticket to be heard, and and the results have shown. I'm standing in here with a microphone in my hand, and I feel like I am very hurt. Most amazing feeling, most amazing feeling in the world. And I cherish that every time. So autism, they want to be heard, whatever it may be. Even when people are very talented with their artwork, I feel like those people can be heard. You know, 'cause with the arts, because they're very talented, even though it didn't really show a lot much of a fan base when it comes to that as well. So that's why I always want to figure out a way to speak for those who feel silent. That's just one of the missions that's one of the goals, one of the ultimate goals I've always wanted to do in Autism Works, my company, is to find a way to speak for those who feel silent. And that's what Autism Works is about. We always try to make sure we make autism more workable. And the results is that I feel like a lot of people can be heard when it comes to events like these, whether it be keynote speaking or or even writing my books, all this kind of stuff. After I wrote the first book, I felt like writing the second one, but at the same time, also very difficult and challenging. The reason why is because I'm out of high school and there are so many different experiences that are going on. So was there most to talk about as well. And another thing too is that ah, doing this again. The one daily fare I always had was the past, and the reason why I always have trouble with the past is because I remember way back in the day I made so many embarrassing mistakes because we have autism. It feels like to have the social appropriateness or what's not appropriate or anything like that. And I remember, I remember this very clearly. And I remember trying to tell a joke, and in the end, chocolate milk started exploding everywhere. And and ever since then, it was just one of my biggest fears when it comes to any contest because I just felt like I was a very bad person back then, and it's a very terrible feeling. But I feel like, but at the same time, for the second book, I do feel like it's important because we do need to take notes on these areas. We do need to take notes on those social awkwardness that happened, and what we can learn from it. What could have been done better? But it's always a process. It's always a process on knowing what's inappropriate and what is appropriate. That took me years to do, almost a decade to know all these things, know how to be socially acceptable, and learn how to be in front of the stage, in front of people. That's just that becomes a journey still sometimes, even to this day. And every time I learn stuff, I feel like dancing inside my mind because I'm always so excited when I get to learn these different things, these different challenges. Yeah, every so often. The people who have autism are listeners. Also, want to mention too that there's a major difference in having autism and being autistic. What's the major difference? When people say autistic, this is how I see it. Just bear with me here. So when people say autistic, it means it's the only thing that you're known for. It's the only thing that you're known for. Autistic. Having autism means it's a part of you. See, there's a little difference right here. If it's a part of you, then okay, he's got autism. So let's see the races. And let's see, there's a little thing right there. It's just what you have, and people don't have to you know um, people don't have to just look at you and be known for having whatever it may be. Just look at Beethoven. He was a deaf guy, but he was well known for his music. Still listen to it to the very day. It didn't matter if he had trouble hearing or anything like that. All he did was he just performed, and so it's being heard to this day. So I don't think it's really fair to be known for having a unique ability, although it is quite so a major asset to your abilities. That you can use them as your superpower or not. It's all a matter of time on what to use that superpower ability for that area. So when people are being heard with autism, then I do believe that there are wonders that can be achieved. especially when it comes to parents, family members, and teachers. When they listen to people who have autism, whatever it may be, whatever they are trying to say, it can be either electronically or anything like that. There's always those major different communications that sometimes doesn't have to be forming from the mouth. It can be for so much more. Whether it be communicating through videos, music, dancing, even screaming. That's right. I even communicate in dancing now back in middle school. It was very neat. The reason why is because hey, I'm here to have a good time. I think you're a cool person, so let's dance. That's just the way I did back in middle school was dancing was a form of communication. And every day can be a new discovery. Every day can be a new discovery for those who have autism, those who do not have autism. So when I say discovery, whether it be talking about the tiniest of details, whatever you see, even challenging the five senses or anything like that. I feel like that's worth celebrating at times, whether you have autism or not. In fact, I remember my counselor. He understood, what I was looking for in a family or even as a friend and such too, and understood what I needed, fidget wise. I was mostly fidgeting with my mouse, so that's why I would bring a toothpick oftentimes, and we would kind of just have a good time. Just be happy for who you are. Never try to change. I tried to change numerous of times when I was in the school, and it didn't really quite make me feel very well. It didn't really, I tried numerous of times. Try to not be having autism or anything like that. I tried very hard, but all of a sudden, in the end, it just started hurting me. And it's just a very miserable experience. So I was also very visual at the time, too, back then, even visual still as well. So visually, I would like to give a good example to people who have unique abilities, seen in such a different way. I would like to mention for someone that has cybernetic enhancements for their arms, legs, or even their entire body. I've actually, it's interesting because I found this very fascinating. When people have the cybernetics, they all of a sudden come to the conclusion saying, "I did not ask for this. I did not ask for cybernetic enhancements or anything like this." And oftentimes, I feel monstrous at times with those cybernetic arms and legs. But what does those cybernetic enhancements do? Maybe it can turn maybe it can turn the arm into a sharp blade or sword. Wouldn't that be cool, huh? To turn your arm to a sharp blade or a sword. And people read this in the comics, about whatever they can do, and they think, man, this is actually kind of cool. This is kind of cool what the superhero can do with his cybernetics. I kind of wish I had that as well. See, it can be a fun experience for that too. And also relatable too, especially when that's a person who has it saying, I did not ask up for this. I did not ask for cybernetic enhancements. What's happening to me? The most important part about these kind of stories is learn what to do afterwards, after you have it. It can even save the world if you really use those talents to the advantage, shape the world to even. Same thing with having autism. Sure, you would probably not, go out and stop crime or anything like that when you have autism. That's just kind of silly. But when you see those unique abilities, see those unique talents, I do feel like that there is some ultimate advantage as long as you know how to accept them. To be accepted by others, you must first accept yourself. That's all there is said to it. To be accepted by others, you must first accept yourself. Because because back then, that's all I wanted to do was to be accepted all the time. The only problem was I didn't learn how to accept myself. That was the ultimate decision I had ever made. Excuse me. That was the biggest mistake I've done. It was to not accept myself, nor to be accepted by others. If I accepted myself first, that's when I felt like I could really thrive. Took me years to figure that out, and I probably wouldn't even write a book to figure that out. And how to make new friends is to fully accept myself. And and in the end, I learned how to do that. And if I didn't learn how to do that, I wanted to learn how to challenge myself, how to push myself forward, and even to stand right here at this stand right now. So with autism, there will be challenges and trials every day for people who have autism and for people who care for people who have autism. There will be challenges, no doubt about it. And keep in mind, it's not an easy thing. And it can be very expensive at times when it comes to care and the knowledge about it and knowing more about it. It can be frustrating, very challenging. I can definitely be honest with you too. It's like looking back, with all these different things that's going on. It's like, my goodness, I had no idea. The one question I asked myself was, is it worth it? Is it worth it, or was it worth it? To have all that attention, all these tests that the doctors have put me through, all these professionals and professors. They always say, come up to me and chasing me, even oftentimes to know more about me and all these kind of stuff. But I always ask, is this worth it? Is this worth the experience? Is this worth the money, or anything like that? Is it worth the love and compassion? Is it all worth it? To me, from my experience, I think it's worth it. And I think that there are some benefits because of that. The will to thrive, the will to thrive forwards because of this. Never give up. Uh, to this, I say never give up. To those working to those working for people who have autism, and for those who haven't, I say the exact same thing to both sides: is to never give up. And keep working with the person you care for that has autism. You will never know you'll never know until how it will all turn out in the end. Will it be worth it? That decision is up to you in the end. I can't answer that for you. It's all up to you before it comes out. Was it all worth it? Is it all worth it? All you need to know when it comes to having autism, or for caring for those who have autism, is today. All you need to know is today. And you need to do your best to deal with the sensory issues, and getting them to eat more than one food, because even back then the only thing I ate was PB&J and bagel bites. It's true, right? And I would never even touch a hamburger way back then. Today, I'm a self-proclaimed hamburger expert. So, if you got a burger restaurant, just hit me up. And for a long time, I didn't really like sushi either. My dad loves sushi. And the thing about him, he encouraged me to eat sushi, even though I didn't like it that much. And he was like, "Nah, let's do it. It's my favorite food." And the more I have it, the more my taste buds has started maturing. So you never know with those. Remember I said five sensories, is that they become more no, what's the word I'm looking for? They become more mature in those areas, especially with the taste buds. You never know when they will eventually learn how to eat more than one food. Everyone's different in that area. And, and it becomes an amazing journey in itself. Liking sushi for the first time, that's worth celebrating by eating more sushi. So for those, so I say the exact same thing when it comes to having autism, is to never give up. Don't let and most importantly, don't let anyone's negative comments hold you back. These actions can be unintentional at times. You mean good, but sometimes you just don't know how to show that you really do. It can be challenging at times. And I say, never give up, never try anything new like that. Don't let anyone's negative comments hold you back. You are amazing and perfect, exactly the way you are. And always remember that you should never diss your ability. I'm Tyler McNamer. Thank you all very much.